So I hear talk a lot about hydrogen water, that it's good for you. It's a lot of benefits to it. I just wasn't, if you have any information, if that's true, if it's worth it to even try delve into that.
Yeah, yeah. So great question. Has anybody heard of hydrogen water before? Okay, a few guys on here. Okay. So I'll be honest, Jimmy, I have not personally done any like research studies myself. I did have my assistant check GB Tizzle help me out on this one though, and I'll do a screen share and I'll kind of share with you. But my workout partner, he hooks me up with water all the time, like alkaline water and hydrogen water because he owns his own beverage store, so he just always orders this in the water and he gives me cases. One time he gave me hydrogen water and I mean, to me, it's just water. To be completely honest with you, right? Like it's just water, right? Like, um, and this is where it kind of gets into a supplementation route where my theory is. Not saying it's accurate by all means, but just take it with a grain of salt, right? Anytime you get some like big wigs with big followers or a bunch of people out there, fancy marketing budgets, they could hype up anything. They could take poop, right, and wraps, glitter all over it, and they can sell salt to a slug. But at the end of the day, it's still poop, right? Not saying that the hydrogen water is bad for you by any means, but I'm just always saying, like, that's just my theory when it comes to most supplements out there. So, with that being said, let's go to my homegirl, check GB Tizzle. And I literally just typed in and I said, I said, what is hydrogen water and is it a scam? Right. So it kind of broke down in terms of like what hydrogen water is. But let's get more into this part because I think this is what you're mainly after is like, hey, is it worth it? Right at the end of the day. And it says hydrogen water is often marketed in ways, as, great health benefits. And the science backing these claims is not strong enough to justify a high price tag of many hydrogen water products. So, as soon as when I, read that, I'm like, yeah, it kind of sounds like most things that's out there, right? It's like, hey, fancy, premium, right? We think it's going to be beneficial for us. I'll give you my cheat sheet on what I'm doing right now, right, in my fancy water jug. But before we get to that, let's go into this. It said if you're interested in hydrogen water, it may be best to proceed with realistic expectations and understanding that any health benefits are likely, mild, not fully confirmed by science. It's always wise to prioritize a balanced diet and healthy lifestyle, which I really like that they put this in here, honestly, because let's just say somebody could be drinking hydrogen water and eating Big Macs all day long, they're not going to be healthy, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So
Yeah.
does that answer your question, or do you have
Yeah.
another follow-up about that with the water before we get into, and I'll kind of share with you like what I put in my water.
Yeah. So, because they sell those contraptions, I'm sure you've seen them where you like press a button and
Hmm?
it's supposed to release hydrogen into the water, and it's with good for like 5 hours. They just say there's all these great benefits to it. So I just didn't know. Can I just drink? Is it worth it to even do that, or I'm all right just drinking my regular water, gallon of water or
You are perfectly fine drinking a gallon of water. Okay, perfectly fine. For
whatever? Like I
me,
won't get any
like
extra benefits from drinking, doing
I,
that.
I don't think there'll be any extra benefits at all, personally, though, right? But like at the end of the day, I'm glad you asked that question in particular because I want everybody to listen up when I say this. Is just because I say something doesn't mean it's accurate, also. Like your body is different from mine. Your body's different from Mike Hoffman, from Jeff Koons. So like experiment with it, I'm not saying buy the whole fancy contraption, but like maybe go buy some hydrogen water and just test it out and just see like a week after having it, like do you feel better or is it a placebo effect where you might think you're feeling better? It's like go off of that because everybody's body is different. You might see some
Yeah,
amazing benefits to it and be like, Joe, this is the knees bees, brother. This is better than sliced bread, man. And I'm like, all right, I'm on it. I'll buy some. So go off of that. Okay. Yes,
yeah,
Brian.
Have you guys heard of the product Perfect Water? It was sold by one of those ML companies. I can't remember the main one anyway. their theory was you got better flexibility, you got better strength, so they would do these things with you, like where like, oh, hold my arm, and then they would push you like. So I tried the perfect water, and it was like,
From
I
drinking
like,
water, you're gonna gain
yeah,
flexibility? That doesn't
yeah,
even make sense.
yeah, you get up to 50% flexibility, and you gain like 70% strength. Let's look at this, and they do this
Wow.
test where they can manipulate how you move, and it's like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, that's a
So
scam.
yeah, yeah.
That's a scam. So Jimmy, what I take, right, or what I have been taking, because obviously I have a testing coming up next Wednesday, so I'm trying to be crystal clear and clean for, my testing. This right here is a gallon of water. I chop up some lemons, I chop up some limes, I chop up some cucumbers, and I chop up ginger, and I put that in here with apple cider vinegar and a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt. Okay. So is this hydrogen water? No, but I bet you anything, this is probably a lot healthier and a lot great when it comes to like detoxing the body and getting some of like metals that's in our, bodies, just flushing it out. So this is also like, I don't know, $1 for the water, maybe like a total of $3 for all the ingredients. The apple cider vinegar is probably the most expensive, $5. Probably way cheaper buying this than the hydrogen. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
What's the other questions you had for me, brother?
So it seems like the new fad is the carnivore diet. You just see it everywhere. It's stating you get all these benefits from it, health wise, and how great it is. Obviously, I personally know that I wouldn't be able to sustain a carnivore diet, but just curious, because it seems like they are saying that's the best way to eat. Um, and it cures a lot of things inside your body.
Yeah, I love this question because I get asked it all the time. So um before, right, dive into it, you already answered the question, which was I don't think I could sustain it. Okay. Now keep that in mind, guys. Like some people can't sustain it, some people can. And if you can, great, right? Then that means it might be a strategy, it might be a tool for you. But like before I dive into this little graphic image that's really going to break everything down to help you out, is like treat your health and fitness journey as a deck of cards where that given day, which card do you want to use that's just going to help you be better than where you were at yesterday? So maybe one day you are doing a carnivore diet. Maybe one day you are doing fasting. Maybe one day you're doing a keto diet. Maybe one day you are doing a protein sparing. And regardless, it's just giving your, tools to just sharpen up the sword, man. That's it. Look at your body as this castle. And it's like some days we got a hammer, some days we got a drill, some days we got a saw. And like that's the knowledge that I want you as well as everybody else to have is, hey, what is just going to help us progress faster and better, but most importantly, just help us stay so consistent. Because if let's say we put all our eggs in one basket of, hey, I'm only going to stick with this diet, that might be great when life is easy, but sure enough, like life's going to throw curveballs, adversity. It might be hard to stick with it. And then we fall off track. But because we put all our eggs in that one basket, now all of a sudden it's just like, oh man, I can't stick with this. And the next, the bad wolf starts feeding us these lies of, oh, dieting's not for us, or eating healthy is not for us, or working out's not for us. And we just slowly go back to our old ways. So it's like, just always keep that in mind. Is like, what is the tools, the knowledge that you can have to provide just guidance to help you get throughout the course of the day? So this does not have carnivore that's on here, but obviously we can put it right into the mix. Okay. When it comes down to diets, different names, different descriptions, but pretty much how it always works is creating a calorie deficit. That's it, right? Like, if we're trying to lose body fat, we need to be in a deficit. Not too much of a deficit because we don't want to lose muscle, but we need to be in a calorie deficit, okay? Plain and simple. Now, when it comes down to the carnivore diet, this is where you're primarily eating just meat, right? And like whole eggs. Now, I think that's great. In my opinion, I think out of all the fad diets that's out there, I think carnivore is probably the best just because I like meat and I like whole eggs, right? But I also like donuts. I also like oatmeal. I also like cereal. I also like ice cream and I also like vegetables, right? So like For me, I can't stick with it because it's not flexible. But just going off of this, if let's just say carnivore was up here and the description was primarily eating meat and whole eggs and some fat that's in there, it's kind of similar to not really a ketogenic diet because ketogenic diets you're lower in the protein. I would say it's similar to low carb, just it's an abundance of protein pretty much. Okay. But over here, it's going to say exactly the same as all these, creating a calorie deficit, you know? So just keep that in mind, you know? Is it bad to do by any means? No, none of these diets are bad to do. But I always say it like this, the word itself, diet, right? T at the end, it's never going to be sustainable. But who's to say you can't do a low carb diet one week, ketogenic diet the following week, low fat the next week, intermittent fasting the next week, Weight Watchers, paleo, whatever, and just keep on mixing and matching, you know? And just keep in mind with all that, sometimes I lift heavy weights, sometimes I lift light weights. Think about that now, right? Do you do the same also, Jimmy? Sometimes you lift heavy and sometimes you lift light. So it's the same thing now from a nutritional aspect. What can I do to just help me progress? What can I do to just help me be better and just make sure that I'm doing the right things, which is, hey, I'm eating healthy, I'm working out, I'm trying my best to just fill up my cup to be more of a better asset for others that's out there, So keep it with a grain of salt that these diets that you see on this screen, you'll probably see more of them in the next few years, right? Because that's how it is. Every year there's a new fancy diet that's out there. Every year there's a new fancy thing that's out. Like, remember Peloton when it first came about? Peloton like took over the fitness space. And I know people that hated cycling, but because they made their commercials look so great and the marketing, they're like, oh, I'm going to buy a $300 Peloton bike. And they would do it for a week and then they would stop and just waste away their money. So it's just like, once again, like that's not what I want for you. That's not what I want for anybody. I want everybody to just create better habits for themselves. It's like giving yourself flexibility, in my opinion, is the best way because one, it's giving you knowledge to know when and how to roll the punches when life throws curveballs with your nutrition, with your training. But at the same time, it makes it a lot easier to give yourself grace when you do fall off. Because, like, I've been doing this for quite some time and I fall off all the time. But knowing that, hey, it doesn't have to be hard to get back on where I have to cut out all my carbs or, do a whole bunch of cardio or crazy things that I just don't enjoy and it's not sustainable. Knowing it's a lot easier to get right back on, it makes it easier for me to just give myself grace and brush off the dust. See what I'm saying?
Yep. I have a follow up real quick. That's okay.
Dude, Jimmy, you take the mic. Here, listen, brother. I love you so much. I'm gonna give you the spotlight. Go ahead, ask that follow up.
So, just relating to that, there's a lot of information along with the carnivore is about whole foods, the big push on whole foods and not getting away from the processed foods, which obviously we know whole foods are better for you. But my question is, somebody like me and a lot of the other guys, time is limited. So sometimes like uh I utilize the 222 method most days. So and sometimes it makes me feel like, all right, I'm doing that, but am I hurting myself by doing it that way? I mean, my time is limited as far as I can't cook all these things all the time. So sometimes the process stuff has to come into effect. You understand what I'm saying?
I 100%. This is such a great question. So to go off that, right? We just went off what I like to say the foundation, which was my time is limited. So we have to build upon that, right? So let's just say in a perfect world, right? But your time is still limited, okay? And you're forced to eat processed foods. So just answer this question, all right, before we continue on. What is better to fuel your system, help you lose more body fat? Is it eating processed protein bars and protein powders? Or is it eating processed chips and candy bars and Big Macs? Like,
Oh, yeah.
remember the foundation, right, is, hey, we're limited on time. So now it's like, how do we build upon that? You know, it's like we have this option or we have this option, or we can start looking for other ways to say, what can we do in this limited time? Is it meal prep on the weekends? Is it, buying stuff in bulk and having that spread out? Is it a meal prep service where, they send you food to your house and you just pop it in the microwave, right? So like this is where it's like you always have to go off of this right here. Now, I will say this, there was one member that I was doing their check-in and I saw nothing but literally protein bars, protein powders, and I got sick even watching all that and doing their check-in. I was like, bro, eat a carrot or two, man. Like this, like you gotta have some whole foods. And I recommend exactly the same, right? So
Yeah.
how can you make this easier for you? One, maybe pack an apple, pack a banana, right? So now you're getting some fruits in the mix. Maybe like have a small little container and have, Greek yogurt with some protein powder and then some berries or some nuts on top, something like that, where you're mixing and matching the two. For me personally, like I'll be honest, right? Like I follow the 2x2 method literally every single day. Like that is just a
Yeah, that's
no-brainer
what
for
I do.
me. It works for me, but I also like don't kill myself with the protein. I probably have anywhere from 3 to 4 scoops of protein a day, and then maybe like 1 or 2 protein bars. That's it. The other foods that I'm having is like egg whites, Greek yogurt, and then my meats in the evening time where I'm having like my rice and my vegetables, right? So I'm trying my best to, once again, keep it more of like a 50-50 split, if that makes sense. I'm not living off the protein, but at the same time, I'm making sure that I have it just for the thermic effect of food portion. If I'm not eating the protein, whether it's coming from supplements or coming from whole foods, all I'm going to be doing is hurting myself in the long run on my fat loss journey because I'm not able to hit my numbers, you know?
Is yogurt considered a whole food, or is it
I mean,
whole food?
personally, I considered, I would, yeah, I would. I mean, I could ask my girlfriend ChatGPT Tizzle real quick. You want me to? I'm kind of,
Sure, why
kind
not?
of curious now. Let me see. Is yogurt a whole food? Okay, solid. My girl got my back because if she would have said no, I would have been like, dang, that sucks. Because then I'm really eating all processed crap. But yeah, she said, yes, yogurt can be considered whole food, right? Especially if it's plain, minimum process. And that's what I have, right? Like I have plain Greek yogurt. That's it, not Italian yogurt, not American yogurt, plain Greek yogurt, right? Because higher in protein, lower in fats, lower in carbs, all that stuff. So yeah, man, throw some protein powder in the mix, um, berries, just get creative with it. Don't be fixated on like one solid thing, but at the end of the day, also keep in mind the foundation, busy, right? Always go off of that because the next thing that you need to ask yourself is like, what can help you stay more consistent? That's it. And if it's like eating
Mhm.
like this and it's the same foods over and over again, but you're seeing the results that you want, you're able to stay consistent, bro, that's a winner, winner chicken dinner all day long.